Welcome to the first class of our Figma course. Let's talk about what Figma is and why it's such an important tool for UI designers and UX professionals. Figma is a cloud-based design platform that allows you to create, share, and collaborate on design projects with teams around the world. With Figma, you can create wireframes, interactive prototypes, user interfaces, and much more, all in one place. But Figma is not just a design tool, it's also a collaborative platform that lets you team up with other designers, developers, product managers, and other professionals involved in a project. With Figma, you can share projects with your colleagues, collaborate in real time, comment, and give feedback. In this lesson, we will learn how to create a Figma account. First, go to the Figma website. On the homepage, you can click the Login button to create an account. It is possible to create an account linked to your Google account, but in this case, we will create a normal account, adding an email. After creating the account, you will be taken to a page where you can enter your name and occupation. It is important to remember that Figma is a collaborative tool, so it is interesting to add information that can help other people to know more about you. Additionally, you must select the option that best describes how you intend to use Figma, such as personal use or professional use. By clicking Continue, Figma will send a verification email to the address you entered in the registration. Check your inbox and follow the instructions to confirm your account. After verifying your account, you can access the Figma platform and start creating projects. In this class, we will learn how to download and install Figma on our computer. Before we start, I would like to remind you that Figma is a cloud-based platform. This means you can access it from anywhere in the world, just needing a browser with an internet connection. However, to make the most of Figma's features, it's important to download the app to your desktop. On Figma's homepage, click on this icon in the upper right corner of the screen and click on this button. The download will start at the same time. After the download is finished, we just need to install it on our computer. Once you install Figma on your computer, open it and log in. In the next class, we will know the details of Figma's initial interface. In this class, we will get to know Figma's initial interface and explore the various features and resources available. This is Figma's home interface. This is where you can create new projects, access existing projects, and import files. This is also where you can manage your teams and check your subscription plans. Here in this search box, you can search for your projects. Here you can access the Figma community. Let's talk more calmly about how this section works in the next class. Here you will receive notifications from other professionals if you work in a team. And here you can access your profile information, add features, settings, and themes, and change accounts if you have more than one. And here you can log out of your account. In this new project option, you can create a new project from scratch. Next, we have FigJam. FigJam is a quick sketch tool that lets you jot down ideas quickly without worrying about perfect details. It's a great way to start thinking of new ideas before creating a complete project. The import option allows you to import files from other design platforms into Figma. This is useful if you have already started working on a project in another tool and want to continue working in Figma. In the Teams section, you can manage your teams, add new members, check recent activity, and much more. This is where you can team up with other designers, software engineers, and other professionals involved in a project. Throughout the course, we will go into more detail on this subject. Finally, we have the Plans section. Here, you can check your subscription plans, check the features included in each plan, and upgrade your plan if necessary. In this class, we are going to explore Figma's Community section and learn how it can be useful in your projects. To access Figma's community, just click on this button, which is on Figma's homepage. Figma's Community section is a place where designers from around the world can share their projects, resources, and ideas. It's a true network of designers that allows you to learn from other professionals, find inspiration, and collaborate with others in the industry. Figma's Community section is organized by categories including inspiration, icons, typography, and more. You can search for specific features like landing page templates or simply browse to see what's available. If you find a community project and want to use it, just click this button and Figma will create a copy for you to use. Another interesting feature of Figma's Community section is the ability to comment and give feedback on shared projects. You can help other designers, share your opinion, and learn from the community. In short, Figma's Community section is a valuable tool for any designer wanting to learn, collaborate, and connect with other industry professionals. To return to Figma's homepage, just click on this icon at the top left of the screen, then click on your name. In this class, we will get to know Figma's work interface. Here on the home page, click New File to get started. This is Figma's work interface. You'll find the main toolbar at the top of the screen, containing buttons for creating shapes, text, drawings, comments, and much more. At the center of the screen, you can rename your project. Here in the upper right corner will be the people who are working in real time on the same project. We will talk about this in more detail in another module. On the Share button, you can share your project with others. And the Play button, we can simulate how the prototype of our project is looking in an interactive way. On the left, you'll find the Layers panel, which displays all of your project's elements. On the right, you'll find the Properties panel, where you can adjust the properties of selected elements. This is an overview of Figma's working interface. There are many more features to explore, including styles, components, prototyping, and much more. We will see all this in more detail in the next lessons. Welcome to Module 2. In this lesson, we will learn about selection and scaling tools. To access the selection tool in Figma, click on the arrow icon located on the toolbar or press the V key on the keyboard. This tool allows you to select objects and elements in the design, such as text boxes, images, and icons, etc. With the selection tool selected, you can click on an object and drag it to another position in the design. In addition, it is possible to select several objects at the same time by pressing the Shift key while clicking on each one of them. Now, let's get to know the Scale tool, which allows us to increase or decrease the size of an object. This tool is represented by the icon of a double diagonal arrow in the upper left corner of the screen or by the S key on the keyboard. To use the Scale tool, select the object you want to resize and click on the Scale tool. Then, just click and drag the selection handles that appear around the object to increase or decrease its size. It is important to remember that, when using the Scale tool, we can distort the object if we do not keep the original proportions. To maintain the object's proportions, just hold the Shift key while dragging the selection points. In addition, it is possible to use the Scale tool together with the Selection tool to resize several objects at the same time. To do this, simply select all the objects you want to resize with the Selection tool, then click on the Scale tool and drag the selection handles. In this class, we will learn how to use the freehand tools in Figma. The Pen tool allows you to draw precise shapes such as rectangles, circles, and lines. It's a great option for creating simpler, more structured elements. To use the Pen tool, just click on this icon on the toolbar or use the keyboard shortcut P and start drawing. To create rounded curves using the Pen tool, simply click and hold with the mouse. If you want to create a straight line after a curve, just click on the last point created by holding down the Shift key on your keyboard. The Pencil tool, on the other hand, is ideal for freer and less precise drawings. It's perfect for creating illustrations and other types of more artistic designs. To use the Pencil tool, just click on it or the keyboard shortcut Shift P and start drawing. In addition, you can also customize drawing options such as color, line thickness, and stroke type. To do this, click on the drawing you just made. Property options will appear on the right tab. Test it out and change the colors and thickness of your drawing. Now that you know how to use the pen and pencil tools in Figma, try creating some drawings and see how useful they can be. In this class, we will learn to create and manipulate shapes in Figma. Shapes can be found in the upper left corner of the screen and are available in various types. Each type of form has different characteristics. Let's start with the rectangle. To access the rectangle, click here or press the R key on your keyboard. Let's click and hold with the mouse a point of our rectangle. When we hold down the Shift key on the keyboard, our shape increases proportionally. If we don't hold Shift, we create a disproportionate element. Also, we can manipulate the edges of the rectangle individually or together. To do this, click, hold, and drag to the inside of the element. To change just one border, just do the same procedure, but now hold down the Option or Alt key on the keyboard. Lines are an extension of the pen tool and can be easily manipulated through mouse clicks and movement. The arrows, in turn, have several customization options, such as size, thickness, and tip shape. You can even make them dotted or rounded, which is great for creating presentations. The ellipse is another very useful shape. It has a single point that can be easily dragged to create the desired shape. The key to working with charts is to define percentages to suit your specific needs. Polygons can be customized to have multiple edges, which is perfect for creating complex designs. The star is similar, allowing you to customize the tips and add a great touch to your design. And lastly, the image tool is a great option for anyone who wants to insert images directly into their shapes. When working with shapes in Figma, it's important to understand all the available options and how they can be used together to create amazing designs. Don't limit yourself to simple shapes. You can customize and combine them to achieve amazing results. In this class, we will cover the basics of using the text tool in Figma. You can access the text tool by clicking on this icon in the toolbar or using the keyboard shortcut T. There are two ways to create a text element. Click once and start typing, or click and drag to create a text box with specific dimensions. In the first case, Figma creates a text box with the auto-resizing attribute set to width, allowing the width of the text box to grow along with its text. In the second case, you define the dimensions of the text box, and the auto-resizing attribute is set to fix, allowing longer strings of text to wrap onto additional lines. To edit an existing text element, just double-click inside the text box, and the auto-resize attribute changes to height, allowing the text box to grow vertically as you add more text. In addition, you can choose a new font from the drop-down list or search for it, as well as change the font size and choose available font styles for the selected font. You can even change the width and spacing of the letters via the letter spacing attribute, in addition to other attributes such as paragraph spacing and paragraph indentation. To change the style of the text, you can choose between bold, italic, and underlined options using common keyboard shortcuts or selecting options in the Style section of the Properties panel. To position text within the bounding box, you can horizontally align left, center, right, or justified. For vertical alignment, you can choose from the top, center, and bottom. To add more style to the text, you can change the fill color, add an outline, and even apply a shadow effect, all through the Properties panel. In this class, I want to show you something really cool: Boolean operations. Although it looks a little advanced, it's really simple and can be useful when creating shapes. To use Boolean operations, select more than one object. You can do this by clicking on one shape while holding Shift and clicking on another shape. Now, you will notice an icon called Boolean Groups. If you click on it, you will have four options: union, subtraction, intersection, and exclusion. Let's go through each of them. The selection union combines two shapes into one. If you double-click on it, you still have access to both shapes. Selection subtraction allows you to remove a part of the shape. When you double-click on it, you can manipulate your new shape. The selection intersection keeps only the middle part of the two shapes. Anything outside this area will be removed. Selection deletion does the opposite. It keeps everything except the part that the two shapes share. Finally, we have flatten selection, which combines all selected shapes into one. If you want to edit later, just double-click. Now, I'm going to give you a challenge. Try to recreate a shape with a hole in the middle using Boolean operations. In this class, we will learn about some of the alignment tools available in Figma. To start, I created a frame with several rectangles inside. However, they are disorganized and one of them even crosses the frame boundary. To take advantage of the alignment tools, let's select all the rectangles that we want to align and access the available options. I will explore each of them with you. Align left. This option will align all selected objects with the leftmost object. Align to the center. This option will seek the center of the selected objects and align all with it. Align right. this option works like aligning left, but with the objects positioned on the right. Align to top, this option will align all selected objects to the top. Align center works like aligning center, but aligning the vertical center. Align bottom, this option will align all selected objects to the bottom. Remembering that all these alignment options occur within the bounding box that surrounds the selected objects. In addition, we have other super cool options like Arrange, this option creates even spacing between objects. Distribute vertical spacing, this option will distribute all selected objects vertically within the bounding box. Distribute horizontal spacing, this option will distribute all selected objects horizontally within the bounding box. To use these options, simply select the objects you want to align and access the Options panel. To control the spacing, just drag the pink line in the center. By using these tools together, you can arrange all selected objects horizontally and vertically, making work more organized and professional. We will certainly use these tools a lot in the next classes. Practice a lot and make the most of Figma's features. In this class, we will show you the basic concepts you need to know about Figma's auto layout function. I'm going to walk you through all the features, including the new features that were released in May 2022. First, I'll show you how auto layout works. Let's use the text tool. Type hello in the text box. Auto layout allows us to create complex layouts that respond to frame growth. Basically, that's what it does. Let's add auto layout to our element. There are different options for this, but the easiest way is to right-click and add auto layout. There's also an option to click Shift+A. Now we add the frame and have the hello item inside it. We can now make changes, like creating a dynamic button. Let's leave the text blank and give the frame a blue fill color. Now we have our frame and we can change its size. If you look to the right, you can see the auto layout settings. The hug option allows the frame to be resized according to the child object. In this example, we have the text hello as the child object. I can add more text. The frame will dynamically grow in response to the text within it. If we set the option to fixed width, the frame will have a fixed size and will not grow as the component grows. If we add more text, the text will be outside the frame. It's best to leave the option as hug to keep the format dynamic. Now we can make changes to the frame, like giving it rounded edges. This would be an example of how we can use auto layout to create dynamic buttons. One useful thing about auto layout is that even when we increase the font size to 100, the frame still grows in response to the child object. Let's decrease the font size again to 50. Now let's add another object to the frame. Let's click on the text and press the Ctrl+D shortcut to duplicate the hello object and change the text to hello too. We now have two child objects within the frame. If we look to the right, we can see that the objects are set in horizontal mode. We can set them in vertical mode if we want. We can also change the spacing between them. Let's increase the spacing and add a third object. Let's add one more object. To do this, click Ctrl+D again. Now we have three objects inside our frame and we can control the spacing between them. To do this, simply select the frame and adjust the spacing option to the desired value. You may notice that the spacing between objects has increased. You can also choose how objects are aligned within the frame, such as centered, left, or right. This functionality is very useful for creating dynamic buttons and responsive layouts. We can also manually resize the frame by selecting it and dragging the handles to adjust its size. Let's say we now want our frame to be larger and the objects within it to be right aligned. To do this, simply select the frame and adjust the alignment to the right. Now we have our larger frame, right aligned, and with the objects within it automatically adjusted. This is a very powerful feature of Figma and can be used to create complex and responsive layouts. Remember to practice and experiment with these tools to become a better designer. In this class, we are going to talk about how to use grids and guides to organize our projects. Grids help us keep all the objects within our board organized and distributed properly. To create a grid inside your frame, select it and go to the Properties panel. There, you will see the option Layout Grid. Add a grid by pressing the plus sign and you can now see that there is a grid inside the frame. There are quite a few options in terms of your layout grid. We can change these options by clicking on this grid icon. I'm currently using a regular grid, but you can also create column grids, which are quite common in web apps. For example, I can do a count of 12. And now I'll have a grid of 12 equally spaced columns. You can change your grid color or opacity here. For example, we can set the opacity to 5%, and now it's a little lighter, which makes it easier to see the objects within your frame. You can change the type to a center grid if you want to add left and right spacing. Or you can do something like a left-aligned or right-aligned grid. The stretch option generally aligns your grid evenly across the frame. You can also add a margin. And this is another way to add left and right spacing and use that as guides for your project. You can also edit the gutter option to have more or less space. Feel free to play around with it and find an ideal grid for your project. If you're working vertically, you can also use a line grid, and this will help you distribute your items along the vertical axis. For the main grid option, you can also choose the size. If I choose 1, I can see that there is a 1 by 1 pixel grid inside my frame. You can have multiple grids by pressing the plus sign and assigning a new grid, like a column grid for example. Now I have a column grid and a pixel grid. You can hide them or show them again or simply remove them from your board. Another option for arranging your objects within the frame is to use what is called a ruler. You can use the shortcut Shift-R to show or hide it. One cool thing about the ruler is that you can use it to add guides to your frame by hovering over it and clicking and dragging to create guides within the frame. Using grids and guides can help you create more organized and accurate designs. So feel free to experiment with these tools and find the best setup for your project. And that concludes our lesson on using grids and guides in Figma. Hello everyone. In today's class we are going to explore the Layers panel, which is located in the left corner of Figma. This panel is extremely important, as it is where all the elements of your project are stored. As you can see, you can access the text and the rectangle from the Layers panel. Also, if you press the Alt key, it is possible to duplicate an element by dragging it across the Layers panel. One important thing to remember is that if one object is on top of another in the Layers panel, it will be displayed in front of the other object. This creates a view hierarchy. As an example, I'll show you how to change the color of the rectangle and position the elements in the Layers panel. If I move the blue rectangle up, it will be presented in front of the red rectangle. Otherwise, if I move it down, the red rectangle is presented in front. The same with the text. If I move it up, it will be in front of the red rectangle. If I move it down, it will be blocked by the other elements. You can also access assets from the Layers panel and create multiple pages for your project, which we will explore further in future lessons. In this class, we will learn the difference between groups and frames in Figma and when it is better to use each one. To begin with, by selecting the Frame tool in Figma, you can create a new workspace of whatever size you want, where you can place your components and objects. Meanwhile, to create a group, you need to select some objects that you want to group. For example, I have a button, so I can duplicate it and drag it into my frame. Figma will group these objects automatically. One of the most powerful features of frames is the ability to use resizing and constraining settings. You can pin objects within the frame so that they are resized together, using alignment settings such as aligning top and center. Groups, on the other hand, do not have these resizing settings. If you resize a group, it will scale all objects within it. It's also important to mention that frames have a background setting that groups don't. You can change the background color of a frame, but not a group. In short, frames are ideal for creating layouts and having control over the scaling and alignment settings of the objects within them. Groups are useful for selecting and moving objects together without worrying about the resize setting.